Good morning. Uh, you know, principally, we look for quality of audience, not for the quantity. So it is, we have enough people here, and we will talk to friends. Uh, I would like to thanks to IPGA for arranging this conference. It's, as you know, it takes 2 years. Every 2 years they do one. And last one was in Jaipur. In Jaipur, I had opportunity to talk the local language. Rajasthani language I spoke. It was local language. It was a really interesting experience. But here, I don't know which language you speak in Pune. Marathi. Okay. This, I have no clue about it. As you know, I am the immediate past chairman of the also Global Pulse Confederation. I had an opportunity, sorry, yeah, this is in and out, huh? This works? This doesn't work. Ah, now it works. We have sabotage here. We will release some government secrets, so we have sabotage. So, as you know, we had an International Year of Pulses. As immediate past president at that time, I taught the importance of the environment. And then why people has to do this pulse production? Because we explained years and years that this was very healthy for the people. We have this protein, we had this mineral. Then in International Year of Pulses, we convinced that people that pulse is also good for the health of the soil. And pulse, when it is good for the health of the soil, we start explaining that, okay, it is good for the people and good for the soil too. Then it came to the next step. Sustainability became very important in the world. Why it became very important? You know, we have a limited space in the world, like land in the world. So we have to make use of this land properly. Like with my wife, she's taking my picture too here. Thank you. We traveled the world with Tulin Elad. We've seen so many production. And my daughter now studying in Holland, one day she told me we should stop eating some fruits that gets rotten immediately, like avocado. She told me that 70%, she's studying, by the way, sustainability. She said 70% of the avocados that we produce gets rotten. So this brings questions to our minds. Why? Okay, then we have to need also sustainable agricultural system. So the key point for this was for the health, second for the land health, third for the sustainability of the agriculture. Why sustainability important? Because as I said, we have limited lands. And then we had to explain this to the world over and over. So we have to increase the production, but we have to also increase the consumption of the pulses. When you became a president, you have to look for solutions. Then I said, well, I have to work hardly on the announcement of United Nations for the Global Pulse Day. At the beginning, everybody was said, this is dream, it is impossible, no way that you will succeed. Even we hired some companies for promoting these ideas in United Nations. They told me it is impossible. I told them, look, don't tell me impossible, tell me how it is possible. Then we followed the path, and finally, during my presidency, we succeeded to have United Nations to announce World Pulse Day. So now this is a company advertisement. I pass this one here. I say in my every presentation this word, but I know some of you first time hearing, or maybe you heard from me fifth time now. In 40 years, next 40 years, we have to produce what we produced 10,000 years back. When I read this in first, it was UN research. I said, how comes? It makes no sense. I will ask you a question here. What was the world population in the year 1800? Ernst & Young, you know that? In year 1800, what was the world population? Sorry? 300. No, it was 1 billion. But you know how estimate is that? It took 200,000 years for humanity to get the population of 1 billion. So when we get the second 2 billion, what's your estimate again? So when the world became 2 billion, it was first we got 1 billion at 1800. Sorry? 1927. Because we became more precise because the population calculation is getting to. And as you noticed, 1800 to 1920, it is around 130 years to get to the 2 billion. Then in 1960, we became 3 billion. So I'm born in 1963. So like when I'm born when we were about 1 billion. So from 2 billion to 3 billion, it took us how many years? 1927 minus 1960? 23? No, 33, huh? 33. I can't see you because of these lights anyway. So 33 years. So first it got 200,000 years, then we got 130 years, then 30 years. And now, today, world population is 8 billion. We are talking of. So this is, as you know, it's a multiplication factor, geometrical increase, whatever you can say. So this number is not the number that we should question. So we should, this is the fact. So we should decide what to do. So that's why sustainability is important. And when I gave you my daughter's example, Rumesa's example, she said we should get rid of production of the avocado, then we should produce something that really helps for this danger. And before to go to this picture, you may notice I am using this picture very often in my presentation. The story of this picture is very interesting. This is a solidarity picture. Solidarity. You know, one farmer in Saskatchewan passes away, and then neighbors comes together to help to harvest his products from the field. So this is a solidarity of the Saskatchewan people, and I would like to take this moment that you see how many combines there. Maybe it's more than 100. All they came together to harvest and to help the family. And agri-food dynamics, I don't want to take your time on these things because we know that in these things very well, dietary choices, global food will grow by 70% to feed the world, etc. You can read these things. In the key markets, as you know, and like India, consumption, Chandra yesterday said consumption was increasing 0.8%, Chandra. Am I right? But then the day before in Delhi, they told me the consumption is increasing 3%. What's the difference? I don't know. But in any case, let's say if we take even if 2% of consumption increase in India, with 25 million, it makes half a million, 500,000 tons. Yeah. So 500,000 tons every year increase. So in 10 years, 5 million of increase anyway that we are expecting in India. And India, the thing is that the Western people, they don't know. And Chandra very well underlined this yesterday, that they have to, because the income, due to income level, people, they consume more grain rather than pulses. So the target has to be to, when people that get economically better, they move more pulse consumption, rather they prefer to consume less grains. But also I noticed, unfortunately, that in India, non-veg population is also starting to get more and more. Because in the families, I started to see that, oh, my son is not vegetarian anymore, these things. But this is compensated in the world with a new trend. Now in the world, in the West, people, they started to be a vegetarian more and more. Like in my family, we have 2 vegetarian. We are already 4 people, so we started non-veg. Thank you. So as you see, the world in one side going in the other direction, in the other side, you have to make calculation of all these things when you see the market dynamics. But also in Middle East, the pulse consumption was going down, but now with this international Europe pulses, and especially when during my discussion during my presentation in Delhi, also I would like to thank to NAFED. They really made very well organization in Delhi for the World Pulse Day. The problem in the world, actually, the east of the world, they are mostly following the Western diet system. And the dietitians in the Western world, they have no clue about pulses because it is not in their traditional consumption basket. So what they do, they put a system in place that you have to consume this, you will lose that much of kilo, you will be more healthy. But at the end of the day, in the basket, you don't see any pulses. This thing, I think, is now started to change because with the international year of pulses, especially in North America, people, they started to understand the importance of pulses in the diet. And now they started to put pulses in the dietary system, and that this system, now this is also started to change in the Western world. So consumer trend, this is mostly, like protein has a positive image. Protein word we used very much, so I explained in Delhi also that protein, what's the meaning of protein? It's, these things always comes from Greek words, which is, actually this comes from proteteos, means first. First means important thing. So then they used protein word for this purpose, so it is very important. So if you don't have a protein, 80 gram a day, this is the minimum threshold. Of course, this depends on their weight. Me, I calculated, for me, I need 90 gram, but maybe for my wife, we need 45 grams. She needs 45 grams of protein every day. So if you don't eat this, you die, practically. So you need to have this from different, whether from animal sources or from plant sources. So now the trend in the world became to take this from vegetable sources. So why vegetable sources? There are so many reasons for this. We will we explain, and everybody will explain this non-GMO, gluten-free. By the way, when we say pulses in the UN, we agreed that, still working? Yeah. We agreed that soybean is not a pulse. It's an oil seed. So we exclude soya. So we say that pulses are non-GMO, gluten-free, and sustainably sourced. So to make the International Euro and World Pulses, we even worked on definition of the pulses. So soya bean, we excluded in the UN terminology in the pulses. It's an oil seed. So, sorry. This is brief of what am I going to tell you. Okay. We came to the right point. I have so many numbers here. Actually, I don't like the numbers when I make presentation because it is meaningless. You will forget when you leave this room. But it's good to have in records. What here took my attention is that Nielsen survey reports that 39% of Americans are actively trying to consume more plant-based proteins to substitute chicken, beef, and pork. This is a very big number. Why we are taking the American numbers? It's not that we love very much America, but America is the statistical heaven. You have all the numbers from there. So when you have the numbers from there, you see the world will go in the future. So statistically, like if you go to Turkish Statistic Institute, you have all the numbers are wrong because you have really don't know. I don't want to say how correct India is. I give you an example. My brother, he was touring around for the red lentil forecasting. Meanwhile, you can look at the numbers while I'm talking. He says he works a trip in the region. He says, look, everybody says red lentil production this year is going to be very low. And then first he visits the Turkish agricultural branch, which gives these statistics to government. And what says that, look, this year we are expecting lentil 10% more. And my brother makes tours again. Everybody says production will be 50% less. Then my brother goes to talk to manager, says, look, everybody says 50% less in production. What do you think? Manager also says, yes, production will be 50% less. But my brother says, look, your bureau said officially that it will increase 10% in this region. Manager says, how comes? They called the guy in charge. The guy comes and says, sir, the lady was on sick leave who is taking care of this bureau, and I know the number. I look at it, I said, probably it will increase by 10%, and he put the number on statistics. So this is the statistics unfortunately, in most of the world. So, but we have to rely. India is no different? Then we are in trouble. I don't say this, I am a guest here. I can only complain about my country. Everybody read these numbers? What was also another important thing in this number, I think you should also notice, producing beef takes 20 times land and 20 times the emission than raising pulses. This is also a very important point that everybody should notice. Hope now I will press the right Metrics, yeah. Here are the metrics. If you go over and over, you would understand. You can read these things, huh? And this one I passed to. Where are these used? These things you note because ring belt. I have 2 minutes now? Yeah. You can see where it is used. When I was making my presentations 5 years ago, at that time I was using the pasta mixed with pulses. Like I was saying, if you add 30% of pulses and then this happens, it is really real tasty. Everybody was looking at me that I was talking very strange things. Now I am proud to say that in most of the presentations now, people, they start talking of food ingredients, pulse ingredients, texturized protein, and protein from plant-based, starch from plant-based, Beyond Meat, Tyson. I mean, in 5 years, I cannot believe that these things are changed. In the beginning, during my presentation, people they were not listening me. I knew, I was noticing, they were not listening me about when I talk the ingredients. I was saying that, look, when you make the flour from the peas, you take 20% of this out, you have the protein, then remaining starch, you use starch for this, you have to use protein for that. Although it was looking very strange, and I am proud to say that today, it is the everyday subject now in the world. Even in our Pulse meetings, we start talking of ingredients. Yesterday, I was having a lunch outside. Somebody came, he said, he's sitting in India, he was Argentinian, he's there, yeah. It's him. He is saying that he's selling the protein. I said, did you sell anything? He said, no. Anyway, there is a good hope. So it is very nice to hear. People are here to sell this protein. So these subjects became everyday subject now. These numbers, I tell you, are conservative numbers. And these we say by 2020, 5.2 billion. These are the companies are doing this. I know in next sessions people will talk about these companies and what they are doing. These are the major players. Today they are mostly are Western companies. Textured vegetable protein. As you see, this is also started to be talked. And also these things are used in animal feed, companion animals. This was very interesting. These numbers here is very interesting. Can you believe plant-based milk? I was saying, I was pronouncing as milk this one. My daughter corrected me. You should say milk. So plant-based milk comprises 15% of total milk sales. Can you believe this? This is very interesting number. So the world is changing. You know, it is very hard to change the people's habit. So what you should do for the encouragement of the more pulses, people, if he wants to eat the pasta, he wants to still eat the pasta, like the snacks. This is very usual for our side, but this is in West, it is not that. Like people, if you want to eat, people in the West, they consume pasta, in also India too. They really want to consume pasta again. Whether you do it from the vegetable, I mean from lentils or peas, or you don't do from lentils and peas. But they still, when they eat, they have to have a feeling of the pasta again. So this veggie pasta we developed in our company, it took 5 years for us. we are pretty close to the test, and now we are running in the Turkish market, and in US and Canada will start soon. This is 100% yellow peas, 100% yellow peas pasta. And the conclusion, I think here I would say that Canada is first stop on the protein highway. You should take notice of this word, and maybe next 5 years, everybody will understand what I meant. And it looks like I end my presentation. Generally, people, they don't ask me questions because I clearly explain everything during my presentations.
But if you take a few questions, I'll ask the audience if they have any questions. Thank you, sir. I'd like to request the chairman.
Thank you very much.
India Pulse and Grain Association, Mr. Jitu Beda, to please step up on stage and present you with a small memento. And once again, apologies for the late start, sir. We have made you wait for about half an hour. We could definitely give you a couple of minutes extra, so no problem with that. Please. Up next is a panel discussion, ladies and gentlemen. So while the team sets up the chairs on stage, I have a few announcements to make. The Executive Chairman, AGT Foods, Mr. Hussain Arslan,